you ever thought about revisiting your roots? When I say this, I don't simply mean going onto Ancestry.com, signing up for a free trial because we all know we aren't going to spend $100 on a real account, typing in your last name, and somehow coming to the conclusion that you are related to Steve Carell. When I say revisiting your roots, I mean truly going back to the place where your family originated from and trying to understand and experience the similarities and differences it has with your own life. Revisiting your roots allows you to truly discover yourself and your culture and maintain your identity in the world that we live in today. Did you know that Shanghai, the Disney, 是世界上最大的, or that Shanghai's Disneyland is the largest in the world? This is just one of the many amazing and interesting facts I learned when in the summer of 2017, I had the opportunity to travel all the way to Shanghai, China for a 2-week camp. This camp was sponsored by Chinese cultural exchange programs in partnership with Chinese weekend schools in the United States. Before I delve any further into my story, I just want to make sure that everyone knows exactly what Chinese school is. Every ABC or American-born Chinese kid knows exactly what Chinese school is and is put into it from the day they learn to talk. I'm pretty sure my first words in Chinese were, 哎呀,中文学校什么时候完? Or, dang bro, when does Chinese school end? On weekends, instead of being a normal 8-year-old kid, doing whatever an 8-year-old should be doing, I remember being locked inside the jail cell of Chinese school with other inmates, longing to be anywhere else but there. Needless to say, I was not the biggest fan of Chinese school, and I did not think I would be the biggest fan of this camp either. As I packed my bags in preparation for the 2 weeks ahead, I still had my doubts. What if I don't like anyone there? What if I don't understand anything they're saying? What if I get attacked by a swarm of Chinese mosquitoes that sting me to death? These were just a few of the many questions swimming through my head. All I can remember from the flight over was that I was just complaining to my dad about how stupid it was that I had to go to this camp, and how instead I should just be at home, playing Xbox, and eating Chipotle. As I walked into the Shanghainese high school that would become my home for the next 2 weeks, I was afraid. But I shouldn't have been. My first memory of my campmates was when we were in a Chinese mall getting a traditional Chinese soup dumpling, or xiaolongbao. As we walked outside in preparation to walk back towards our dorms, it started pouring. And when I say pouring, it literally felt as if I was underwater. Our dorms were 1.5 miles away, and none of us had enough money to get a cab, which meant that our only option was to run back to our dorms in the rain. We immediately looked at each other, and without saying a word, began sprinting back towards our dorms, weaving in and out of crowds, trying to avoid as many dumpling vendors as possible. We were actually so focused on running that we ran about a 1/2 mile past our dorms and had to turn around and run back. Once we finally arrived back home, we were all tired, soaked to the skin, but laughing as hard as we could. This was the first memory I had with my campmates, and after this experience, I knew that these would be people that would become my friends for the rest of my life. We began to get closer and closer after that day, and it felt as if I'd known them forever. Not only did experiences like those help bring us closer together, but the fact that we were all American-born Chinese kids who grew up the same way, shared the same culture, and shared the same values was much more critical than I expected. I remember spending hours with them joking around about random stuff and talking until almost 5 in the morning about topics that I could not have discussed with my friends back in the United States. We bonded over small things, like acting like we only spoke English, then speaking fluent Chinese in order to confuse random cashiers and clerks, and playing basketball outside until midnight. While Westminster is a very diverse community, it is nothing compared to the Chinese camp that I went to. Being able to spend time with kids just like me and fit right in with everyone was a feeling I had never felt at Westminster. Along with being able to meet new people and make new friends, this camp also allowed me to experience China like never before. The few times I'd previously been to China, I was not truly appreciating it for what it was. I remember I was just a little kid complaining to my parents and my sister about how stupid it was that we had to go to some random place like the Great Wall of China in 105-degree weather. I was naive to say the least. As the days flew by in Shanghai, I suddenly found myself on top of the Shanghai Oriental Pearl Tower, overlooking the entire city of Shanghai. Taxis honked their horns in the streets below. Random dumpling vendors shouted out at people walking by, and Shanghai skyscrapers towered over everyone and everything. Standing above the entire city of Shanghai that day, I felt a sense of cultural pride and happiness that I had never felt before. I had previously been embarrassed of my culture and ashamed of who I was, but standing on top of the entire city of Shanghai that day, I was proud. I distinctly remember one time in 4th grade, we were sitting in a circle on a rug of the United States, going around and saying our middle names. I remember one girl goes and says, "Hi, my middle name is Anne." And one guy goes and says, "Hi, my middle name is Dan." And then it came to be my turn. And I remember how embarrassed and ashamed I was to say my Chinese middle name, Shi. I was worried about other people judging me on who I was. And on that day, as a little 4th grade kid, I became disconnected and detached from my heritage. Instead of sulking and feeling guilty about who I was, I should have been proud like I was that day, standing above the entire city of Shanghai. This camp allowed me to truly immerse myself in Chinese culture, meet new people and make new friends just like me, and learn the true meaning of revisiting your roots. It also allowed me some time to reflect on who I truly was. In the world that we live in, it can be very easy to forget yourself and forget where you came from, and it's very difficult to regain it. Being able to meet people just like me who I could relate to and experience China like never before are just a few reasons on why I will never forget this camp. I propose that we make a drastic change for second-generation kids all around the world. People who were born in the United States but have parents who were born outside of America deserve to have the opportunity to go back and revisit their roots with people just like them. Rather than cooping up second-generation kids in a classroom and force-feeding them information about their home country, why don't we send them there instead and allow them to truly experience it for themselves? As these camps are funded by cultural exchange programs all around the world, they'd be open for kids from all different social classes because, as we all know, there's no place like home. Thank you.